Hey guys, it's Peter from Thinking Man Business Labs. I want to thank you for joining us here for this interview with Danny Green. Guys, just like with all my interviews, just take them for what they are. It's just a bit of a chat with, friends old and new that I've sort of met across the traps, and it's great to catch up with Danny. We've got a couple of mutual friends, and I do this podcast to get some information from both a business perspective for you guys, and also from the world of sport, if it's sport, and the world of business, if it's the world of business, and everything in between. We share stories. Nothing's meant to be taken too seriously, and I hope you enjoy it. Here's my interview with Danny Green, and everything I do is to support a couple of mental health policies. So we've got mental health like Beyond Blue and Black Dog Australia, and also SASSY, which I do a bit of work with. They're a homelessness service down in the Illawarra. So in the YouTube link, there'll be links where you can support that and donate to there. I don't do this for any sort of money or any sort of recognition or anything like that. So if we can support those great charities, that'd be fantastic. So the links will be below, and hope you enjoy the interview. Thank you very much. All right, guys, welcome back to Thinking Man Business Labs. As you know, I'm Pete Mack. Today, we are very, very lucky to have one of Australia's greatest boxers of all time, Danny Green, on our show. And he's going to talk about all things boxing. And as we always know about on our show, we talk about all things business as well. So we can talk about that transition with him as well. So Danny, welcome to the show. And thank you for taking some time.
Morning, Pete. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Yeah, excellent. So what I normally like to open with is, so how's things been for you since? So you're officially retired now. We can sort of say that for you.
I didn't officially retire because I didn't want to give the media the satisfaction. You know,
right?
They're always going, "When are you retiring? When are you retiring?" It's like, man, an AFL footballer wins a premiership. The first thing a reporter asks them is, "Mate, so when do you start pre-season? How are you going to get better next year?" When a fighter wins a world title, they go, "When are you going to retire?" It's like, it's almost like they want you to go away. So I didn't fight again. I'm not going to fight again, but I never had an official retirement press conference. I did that once and came back and thought, not doing that again.
So I'm not getting invited to any big retirement party anytime soon.
Sorry, mate, I just lost you there.
I just said I'm not being invited to any big retirement party soon. There's no big retirement party that I'm going to be invited to soon.
Nah, not mine anyway.
Not mine. Thanks, mate. So just give me the cold shoulder on national on national YouTube. It's all good.
No. Well, I won't be having one. So I might see someone else's, but I won't be one.
No, that's good. And how are things going in general with your lifestyle? What do you do with yourself? Do you stay fit? All that sort of thing.
Yeah, I do, Pete. For me, I transitioned into the fitness industry before I retired because I wanted to, my father, I lost him 2 years ago on Monday, we lost him. And I was very, very close with my father, and I was very, very fortunate to have an amazing relationship, as my siblings did, with our dad. So he was a great guy. He was, he was from the school of hard knocks. He grew up tough. He was a farmer. He lost his mum and dad by the time he was 15. He had 11 brothers and sisters, helped raise each other. He was, went into boarding homes when he was younger as well, and then made his way back to the farm, and then came to the city. And he turned his life was an incredible life, and he instilled some really good ethics into us. And one of those things was surround yourself with good people. And so for me, he told me, mate, you want to set yourself up before you finish fighting with something that you want to do down the track to be able to have a sustainable income. That's your job, that's your life after boxing. So I left school early and did my apprenticeship because I didn't want to go to school, but I wanted to be a fighter, but I didn't think I'd ever do what I did. I think this was a dream. But so I did my apprenticeship, left school and did my apprenticeship as a carpenter just to have something to fall back on if fighting didn't work out. But since then, since boxing's finished, I've been in the fitness industry, and it's been exciting because I really found out that I enjoy it, because I was only ever in fight gyms. I was never in commercial gyms. Mm-hmm. My life was spent in fight gyms around the country, around the world. So I didn't really know much about commercial gyms per se. So it's been a learning experience, and 6 years, just over 6 years, I've been in the game, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoy some aspects. Some aspects I don't enjoy, but a lot of the aspects I really enjoy. And I've worked out that the fitness industry is really, we're in the hospitality industry.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. So we'll stay on the topic of business for now. Now, is it called 12 Rounds? Am I right in saying that? The business that you own, and how long has that been? How long has that been going for? Look at that. There you go. Shameless plug.
I started my first gym. I was introduced, and excuse me. One thing I've learned through my fight career is I'm not a very good networker. So right. I'm not. I kind of like, I meet a bloke. I'll go, "G'day, mate. How you going?" And then someone will say, "Mate, do you know who that guy is? He could come in handy." And I track him up. I just met the guy. Some good bloke, but I don't want nothing from the fella.
Yeah.
If he needs me for something, no problem. Here's my card or here's my number, mate. But you need me, no, I'm around, but I'm all right. It's all good. So I've learned to kind of sway from that mindset and kind of go, well, he could, and myself and that person, we could do something together, business-wise, or something in the future. They could mutually benefit both of us. So I'll keep that guy's card and I'll keep in touch, whatever. So I've learned to network a little bit better.
Nice.
And I was introduced to a fella through a mate of mine, and then he was in the fitness industry, and we decided to do something together. He was his name's Leon McNeese, and he was the founder, and then him and his partner Darren Strosh built, then on sold the Good Life fitness chain
right.
for a very tidy sum back in the day, and then they bought out Snap Fitness from America, and they're both entrepreneurs and involved in the fitness industry, very, very well heeled in that game, and very, very well respected. And so then mate of mine, Gubby Allen.
Yeah.
Gubby, heard of Gubby?
I've heard of him for sure. Yep.
He's a legend. So he was football manager at Collingwood. He used to play back in the day. Then he took the Lions to their Brisbane Lions 3 premierships. Then he's the guy who got GWS off the ground in Sydney.
Yeah.
So Gubby Allen he's a legend, and he's a fantastic fellow. He introduced me to Leon, and then Leon and I then said, hey, we should do something together, and we did something together. And so now we opened 2 gyms over here in Western Australia called Green Zone Fitness, as in ZONE, because there's different zones in each gym. It's nice. The big 24-hour gyms. And then within that gym, another fellow by the name of Tim West, who knew Leon McNeese back in the day, Tim had been involved in the fitness industry for a long time. Leon and Tim kind of had an idea about a concept they wanted to do, and then they thought, well, let's involve boxing. We'll bring myself in, because I obviously had the experience, the working history and work experience, short experience with Leon, and he was happy with what I was doing, and I was obviously happy with what we were doing together. And he brought me into this concept, 12 Round Fitness, and we just kind of grew it and evolved it. We trialled the first one in my gym in Perth, and people loved the concept of boxing and functional strength, so more body weight exercises instead of heavy powerlifting.
Fantastic.
So short, sharp interval training in a group environment, boutique fitness. We tried it in my gym in Warwick, and then from there, we opened our first store in Brisbane in 2015, because my partners are from Brisbane. They live there, and then it went really well. And then by the start of 2016, the first franchise had been sold, and now there's 78 around the country.
Wow.
And there's we've opened an international arm called UBOX. Right. Strength in boxing and strength. And we've got 2 in New Zealand and 1 in Singapore. And then before COVID hit, we were literally a week away from signing a lease over in the UK. So we're looking to expand overseas if and when this all comes to an end. Who knows what's going to happen? Sure. But so that's where my gyms, my business is at the moment within the fitness industry. We've got Green Zone Fitness and the 12 Round Fitness boutique franchise that I'm a co-owner and co-founder of, and it's going really well.
Yeah, and you've kept them pretty much just within that. You haven't divulged in any other sort of businesses, or it's mostly kept within the gyms at the moment.
Sorry, George. Divulge. I just lost it. Divulge.
Yeah, is it just?
You said divulge.
Is it just with the boxing businesses? You haven't got into any other businesses?
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. So the Green Zone Fitness is a commercial gym, so it's weights, cardio, yoga, Pilates. We've got a creche in there, so it's a one-stop shop for everything. We do have a boxing for fitness circuit in the room. That's where we trialled the first one, and 12-round fitness. That's boxing for fitness. So it's not a boxing. They're not boxing gyms. They're boxing for fitness. We're the fastest growing franchise globally, and the second largest boxing franchise in the world at the moment.
Wow!
And
Congratulations.
hopefully we'll be overtaking that. So, but yeah, Tim West and Michael Jordan and the guys at head office and Jonah Hales, they've been doing an amazing job. They're the guys that kind of the nuts and bolts of the business, and they've done a phenomenal job in growing it. And all the franchisees around the country, some really good people involved within the brand. And I'm learning, mate. I don't know. I'm still learning, but it's really important if you can get those, like surround yourself with good people. If you can get good franchisees and good people running their own businesses, it just helps galvanise and strengthen the whole brand.
The whole brand, that's right. And we were talking a little bit before we started off air about some of the challenges, and it looks like you've obviously landed off your feet. You've found some good advice. You've found some people that you can trust. And guys, here at Thinking Man, hearing Danny talk about his background and where he's come from, a household where things were probably tough, where money was probably tough growing up. You didn't grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth. You've had to grind it out. And do you think that helped you be a bit more careful with your money, that you didn't have it growing up? Or do you think it was just something that was embedded from your dad?
My dad did it tough. My dad, obviously, we were pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
So, man, I didn't go without food, put it that way.
Yeah.
So, we were an average family, and went to school and was able to, every now and then go on a holiday, go away with the old family. So, I had food at the table, so I was pretty lucky.
Yeah.
But it was, we weren't loaded. So it was, just a comfortable, and probably just a normal growing up situation.
Sure.
But I guess I've been a bit kind of, I didn't really think I was going to have, be comfortable myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably been a bit loose with the way of, spending my money and stuff. So if anyone here wants financial advice, I'm not the guy to come to.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a live for today person more than,
right.
put it all away and worry about it when I'm 75 years old and I can't do nothing with it. I'd rather be able to enjoy what I've got and what I've worked hard for, and obviously save for the future and set myself and set my family up, my kids' family up for the future. Make sure they're secure. That's the most important thing. But at the same time, I want to be able to live and enjoy what we've got while we've got it, while we're young and while we're able to do it. I'm a firm believer in enjoying what we've got when we've got it, whilst we're able to when we're young. Yeah,
and listeners, that's a great example. Sometimes we work so hard we forget to enjoy it, and we forget to enjoy the fruits of our labour, even if it's in the middle of something. We've got to celebrate our successes, and sometimes we forget to do that, I think, as business owners, because there's onto the next project and onto the next project and onto the next project. So, so anyone out there that's scared of spending money, you heard it from Danny Green, go and spend all your money. No, but it's all good. So what do you think was the hardest thing about making the transition for you from sportsman to businessman?
I was involved in my promotions as well. So from the day one, from I turned pro, I went to the Olympics in 2000 and turned pro in 2001 and moved to Sydney. Took a car, put an old Magna on the train and put the TV and some cutlery and some clothes and a microwave in the thing and a toaster. And we went over, my then girlfriend, my now wife, went over and set up in Sydney. Didn't know what to do, didn't know anyone really, and just started from scratch and had my first pro fight, and it was on Foxtel and won that, and it's like, man, it was a dream.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do, my motivation for turning pro, Pete, was to earn 40K.
Yeah.
To put 40K away for a deposit on a house and come back to Perth and buy a house and then just go back to my trade as a carpenter.
Yeah,
terrible,
wow.
I was a terrible carpenter.
Yeah.
Go back to my trade and then pay off my house, and that's how I was going to buy my house, was to go over and fight for, try and put together 40K for a deposit and put that away. And if more comes, it comes. But that was my initial motivation was, I want to win a world championship. But it was such a pipe dream. You just don't realise where life's going to take you.
Yeah.
yeah, that was my initial motivation, was to earn 40K for a deposit for a house, and then and buy a house and see what happens after that. But I was always extremely disciplined and extremely dedicated, and I was a seriously hard worker in the gym, and I was meticulous when it comes to preparation. So although I didn't realise where I was going to go, I look back now and go, it was probably always going to happen, because I was such a tireless worker, and I persevered through chronic and crippling injuries and put up with ridiculous amounts of pain and hardship physically, to continue fighting and get on to go. So probably the transition was made easier, Pete, because I'd set up, and I was part of my own promotional company. I put my own promotional company together back in 2002, only after a year and a bit after fighing.
Sure.
But good friends of mine. So the old man always said, surround yourself with good people. Very close friend of mine, who was my accountant, has been one of my best mates since I was 9.
Wow.
And his old man and my old man were best mates, and his old man's still alive, and I'm close to him, and his mum and mine more close. So very trusted person. He had an idea, let's put a big fight on over here in Perth, because there's an appetite for it over here in Perth, and there hasn't been big fights here. So he came back to Perth, and there was 5,000 people at a stadium, which hadn't been done before in Perth ever. And then and put together Green Machine Boxing. That was a promotional company, and had some people involved. Another fellow my dad worked with, whom I was close with, and 2 other people in that company. So I was involved in the business, promoting, marketing, the media, publicity, etc. I was involved in that from the get-go, and I was involved in negotiations with my fights, with my opponents, with the purses, with sponsorships, with endorsements, etc. So I've always been involved in it from the get-go. So probably 20 years later, the transition when I finished boxing, or like 15 years later, wasn't so hard, because I was involved in business whilst I was doing it, if that makes sense.
I think that's a great example. For a lot of people, you can always dip your toe in during your career. There's always some spare time. There's always some off time when you're training, between camps, between whatever, to try and do a whole bunch of different things. And I think sometimes when people are getting, especially we can talk about football players, because obviously one of our both of our good friends is Eric Grace Jr. is one of my
the
weapon. I don't call him my weapon. I call him one of my annoying friends, and he's been bagging me out about my ponytail, and that every time he hopes the wind blows it off, and it's a very strange thing.
He can give me shit too, mate.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll refer him to you then next time he mentions it to me. That's good. I can refer him to you next time he mentions it to me. That's good.
Hey, Pete, just a quick one. When I was over in Sydney training where I first met Guru in 2005, and I didn't have a strength and conditioning team, and then I hired through Athletics Australia was a guy that I was involved in Green Machine Boxing over here. He worked for Athletics Australia. He got in touch with Hayden Knowles and Craig Carrick, who were then the strength and conditioning team at Parramatta Eagles. We had a meeting. We then formed a relationship and great friendship. 15 years later, we're close mates.
Yeah,
we're other sides of the country. But then I started training at the Parramatta Eagles Rugby League Club. That's when I met Guru, and then my last trainer, who was been my assistant since day one, but was probably the most prominent trainer I've had in my career, Angela Hyder, the guy that I learnt the most off in my whole boxing career. He was he loved he's a lunatic, fantastic guy. And he gave Guru the nickname The Weapon. And so on the sidelines, we'd be on the sidelines going, The Weapon! And yelling out. And Guru, he loved it.
You would have loved it. Because training wasn't his forte, so anytime you'd hear that'd probably hype him up to actually make a run.
Well, he just had a fantastic energy too, Guru. He's just one of those blokes whose energy is infectious. Great to be around.
Yeah, funny to have a couple of beers with as well. You sit there and laugh all night, because he's just one of the funniest guys you'll get.
He's an absolute pisser.
Yeah, he is awesome. So if we go back to talking about some of your fights, because obviously there's going to be some listeners that want to talk about that. When you think back on your career now, you can look back with open eyes, and where do you think was your peak, and what do you think? What are you probably your best memories of what you achieved over that time?
I probably haven't hit my peak yet, Pete.
That's awesome. I love it.
I don't know, mate. I picked late. I was a late bloomer. I didn't, I didn't have fuzz in my nuts till I was about 16. I didn't shave till I was like 21, 22. So I was a real late grower, even later. But I don't know, mate. I think the best achievement in my career was the fact that probably wasn't one particular fight. I could talk about fights that I've won that I probably shouldn't have won. That most people would go, that must be your best achievement. I think the best achievement that I had throughout my career, right until the end, was bringing people together. I think that's the best thing I was able to do in my career, was to bring people together at stadiums, at homes around the country, at pubs and clubs, and go and watch fights. And I think the majority of the crowd were there of my fights were there to see me be victorious. There was just a real sense of camaraderie within the air at the stadiums where I fought. And that to me makes me very proud. That's my best achievement, mate.
Awesome. That's great. That's great to hear, because sitting from the other side, so I live around the corner, obviously, from Alex Volkanovski, who's in the UFC at the moment. And, what he's done for the community here in Wollongong, where I live, I mean, when he's fighting, all the pubs are packed. I mean, and he's done that for a small community here in Wollongong.
It's a great achievement.
Yeah. So it's just amazing when you see that. It helps the businesses, helps the economy, but also what it does is it brings a community together. It doesn't, it doesn't matter about nationalities. Everyone's hugging each other. They're throwing beer at each other. It's all good fun. And that's the bit that you guys probably miss out on. Sometimes you probably want to be in those crowds at some point in time. You know what I mean?
And he's a guy who's, he's humble. He's down to earth. He's an animal, but he's such a seemingly, I've never met him, seemingly, easygoing, cruisy, caring guy who's got a switch, who can fight like the clappers, but he brings people together, and that's a special quality, mate. So, I don't think it's too long before, he's absolutely ruling, and, he's got that X factor where people want to see him be victorious. Some fighters people pay to see lose. Which is crazy.
That is.
Not like Alex. Alex, he's the guy who you want to go and see win. You're rooting for him.
That's right. Yeah.
You want to get behind him because he's a good bloke.
And he's an ex-rugby league tragic as well. So it's it also helps him. So I asked some of the guys in the group what sort of questions I'd asked. So if you do want to answer them, you don't have to. But one of the guys asked, and this is Daniel Monday, one of my good friends, asked, how do you feel about Geoff Bennett these days after the alleged falling out years ago? And how do you hold grudges? How does that sort of work? And if you don't answer it, if you're not comfortable with it, it's all good.
No, it's all good, mate. Excuse me. Probably a long answer is required. But and as we all know, there's always two sides to a story, and the truth generally meets in the middle. But I'm going to say this one, and I'm happy to say it publicly. The truth is on my side, and so people who know me and who know Geoff will probably go, "Yeah, I'm backing that one. I'll take that one." So that in itself says something. That answer. I left my head held very, very high, extremely high. I did everything that I could to stay with Geoff. Geoff's got his opinion. Geoff's got his ideas on how it ended, why it ended, and why it shouldn't have ended, etc. It ended too late for me. And if Geoff wants to sit down one day and have a chat about it, because I greatly admire Geoff as a fighter. And then as my trainer, I would have walked through brick walls. Everyone knew this. I did everything that I could possibly do to, while I was training with Geoff, under Geoff. But unfortunately, Geoff spoiled it. And, but he won't agree to that. He won't. He'll have a quick comeback. And I'll just keep it at that. Geoff spoiled it. And since then, since about April 2005, when I made the decision to leave Geoff and find a new trainer, I told Geoff, and then the very next day in the newspaper, there was a story saying that how he'd let me go, and
Right.
You know, it was for the better, and it was a feel good story for on Jeff's behalf. And then within a week, he turned it on me in the same paper. I think it was the same reporter in 2005, ripping me in your arsehole, saying, "How dare he? How can he leave me what I've done for him?" But a week before, you said that you let me go, Geoff. So
Yeah.
Jeff's, you know, he's up and down. And one day you'll be in his good books. The next day you won't be in his good books. Who knows? It's frustrating, man. Very, very frustrating. And I've been
because he did do a lot for Australian boxing with his talent. So I guess that's a disappointing bit, you know.
Yeah, it is. It is. He lets himself down. He's, you know, because he was so loved, and then you know, I don't know. It's a tough one, mate, because as fighter trainer, we went through a lot, and I would have fought, you know, and I would have taken on the Russian army for him at one stage. You know, I was just not doing anything for you, mate. But unfortunately, it is what it is, mate. But I wish him all the best. I wish him more, and I'll always, we had some great times, and you know, had some fantastic times with him, and we'll always remember. I like to remember the good times more than the bad times, and I don't really like to throw mud or speak ill. But
that's not what we do here. So
but I'm also not a wood duck, and I've just had my ass torn out by him for 15 years. On and off, he said some good things, and he said some horrendous things continually, and I've just kept my mouth shut, and I'll continue to do that.
Yeah, and hopefully at some point there can be some closure between two of you guys at some point, because that's how life is. You know, we say some stuff that we don't mean at certain points, and you know, like you said, if you guys want to have a chat, you know, you've opened that door for that. So we'll see what happens.
You know, there's a lot of water been under the bridge, but pretty much all from him.
Yeah. So it's all good. It's like I said, I didn't want to create any controversial stuff, but it was a question from one of our listeners, so I just thought I'd ask it, and I appreciate your honesty.
What's the point of having questions that are boring, Pete?
Yeah, like I said, there's always two sides, and if you ask my ex-wife, her side would be totally different to mine.
Of course.
Yeah, you know, to me, I was a beautiful embellishment of what a husband should be. But if you ask her, it'd probably be totally different.
And Geoff will say the same, mate. And, you know, we had some great times together that I remember and look back with just absolute endearment and fondness. So I just like to remember those times.
Yeah, great. Good on you. And it'd be remiss of us not to talk about, obviously, one of the biggest fights with Mundine and that whole that whole rivalry. There was, you know, I can always sense that there was a lot of respect there. You know, and was there actual hatred there at any point in time, real hatred, or was that all, you know, part of boxing, a part of boxing and a bit of hatred, or was it actual genuine hatred?
I've never ever once bought into, I'm just going to say something derogatory to this guy, or I'm going to say something mean or spiteful or smart ass to this person, so people go, oh, these guys don't like each other, I want to watch this fight. No, never.
Okay. Yeah. I
could have made a lot more money by doing that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't then look my dad in the eye, my brother in the eye, my mother in the eye, my kids in the eye, and go, yeah, I just did that for the TV. Fuck on you.
Yeah.
So I got no interest in that. So whatever was said between myself and Chock was genuine.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'll be able to go back and go that I've said I hate Anthony Mundine, or I just hope he, you know, gets hit by a bus. You'll never find that, because it was always a sporting rivalry.
Yes.
I'm a better fighter than Chock. That's it. That's all I give a rat's about. I'm a better fighter. I'm a better fighter than Chock. That's all I care about. Yeah. He'll say this, and he'll say the same, and he'll go to his grave saying that he's a better fighter than me, but he's not. I'm a better fighter than Chock, and that's where the competitiveness is. I have a great deal of respect for the man. He was a premiership NRL player, and then he was a world champion boxer. That's pretty special. Yeah. It's a pretty huge achievement.
Sure.
And anyone who couldn't acknowledge that or doesn't acknowledge that is ignorant, and that's their problem.
Mm-hmm.
But in saying that, we should have had 3 fights, and he made us wait 10 years for the rematch after the first one. The first one was the biggest boxing bout in Australian history.
Mm.
far. Nothing's come close to it. The biggest was Phil Jones in 2009. And then the third one was myself and Mundane's rematch 10 years later. They're the three biggest fights. And the next one, next to that is there's daylight between third and fourth.
Yes.
So myself and him have had a you know, we kind of had the public attention for 17 years. You know, from 2001 to 2000 when it started to 2017, it's pretty huge.
And still talked about to this day, really.
Yeah, but it was the reason it was, and then you see a lot of fights like there's Jeff Horn versus Tim Tszyu coming up, and great blokes, top young fighters, top young fellas, and they're trying to create, the media and them are trying to create a rivalry. You can't create a rivalry. There is a rivalry, or there's not. So you can't create it. So that's all these rivalries over the years, like even Choc with other fighters that haven't quite had that rivalry because it's not being genuine.
Yeah.
Whereas myself and Choc started off 2001. The media really started it, and Choc called me a bum, and I just said, "Yeah, I'll fight the bloke. Let's get on," and it just went from there.
Yeah,
and I was knocking blokes out. They were taking in the distance, and then we fought the first time, and he won the fight. And I was a ghost.
Yeah.
I was, and it's not an excuse, but we should have fought straight after that at a weight better suited to me, and he made us wait 10 years till we were both old men. I was a month of 44 when we fought in the rematch, and I did what I had to do. I got the decision. I won the fight, and for me it was a fantastic way to go out. A victory over my biggest rival in my sport that I had. In my last fight was a great way to go out, but. You know, he's not a bad human being. He's an exceptional athlete. And yeah, like I said, a lot of things being said over the time, but it was never one of hatred. Never hatred. Okay. Because my father raised me, and it was funny that I was the white fella against the black fella in the media and the public's eye. This, I'm the white fella and he's the black fella, and that must mean that I'm, a redneck, which to a degree, to a large degree, really rubbed me the wrong way, because my old man raised me well and truly to acknowledge and appreciate, who the rightful owners of this land are, and where we came from, and how long they've been here for, how long the Aborigines have been here for. And that's how I was raised. And so, the whole black-white affair was really drummed up by the media. You'll never hear me saying anything about it. Or never hear me saying anything derogatory at all, because my old man would have slapped the taste out of my mouth as a young kid. So that's how I've raised. And
so we should have, because we don't have room for that in this country. We don't.
No. In particular, towards the Indigenous, I'm not going to get into it because it's very political, but
of course,
that's what's kind of pissed me off over the years, is the fact that the media, put me in one corner, and Choc put me in one corner. That pissed me off about Choc. He painted me as the corporate white figure. I was like, fuck, man, I'm a carpenter by trade. You never worked a day in your life. You walked straight out of school into a $250,000, probably $300,000 rugby league contract. You never worked a day in your life, on the tools. So don't put me in one corner and paint me as a corporate white man's figure, which he said, to generate publicity. And then that kind of got a bit of a ball rolling. So that pissed me off a little bit. But it is what it is. Choc's not a bad dude. I don't hate the guy. I'm sure we'll break bread, and over time we'll break bread. And I have immense respect for the man, but I'm just a better fighter.
We made that clear. That's all good. That's all good. So we've got obviously a lot of things that we could talk about. I had an interesting question from one of the guys saying, "How's your skateboarding going now that you're retired?"
Oh, my back's cooked. I love my surfing, so I'm getting right into I'm really trying to progress my surfing to another couple of levels. But I've always surfed, and really loved it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So it's always been, I've always, never stopped. But I skated as a kid. Then my boys loved, my son, who's 12 now, Archie, he loves skating. And I put a half pipe in my backyard, and I literally thought I'd broken my back a couple of times.
Wow.
So I got to grow up.
That's not going to happen. And
I'm the king of idiots. So I'm like, hey, I'll do that. Bad idea.
Yeah. As we come to an end, I just want to thank you for your time and appreciate it. Us finally getting this together. We've been talking about it for a little while, and both of our schedules haven't sort of lined up, but it's been fantastic to have you on. But if you've got like any bit of advice for whether it's a NRL player or someone who's got, like we talked about earlier, someone who's got short-term work prospects, as in 10-year or 15-year lifespans and things like that. What sort of advice would you give them about how to work with their money? And I know you said you don't want to talk about business advice because you spend it and all that sort of stuff, but I can't help but see that you're comfortable now. So you must have done something right. What do you think are some of the little things that you did do right?
I invested. I didn't always make sharp investments, but I generally invested in property.
Yeah.
Which, back then was safer. Now it's not as safe. Nothing's safe now. I don't know what's safe anymore. So it's a difficult environment for young people who are looking to invest or to prosper with what they've made at the moment. I'm not sure where they invested. I've got a little bit of shares, etc. I got some shares and property, but I pretty much invested in myself. So I invested in myself and my brand, and worked. I worked hard on not making my brand, but I worked hard on doing my fighting and winning my fights, and that's what created my brand, I guess. And just being a normal bloke, and then I was able to, cross over into the fitness industry and take the same attitude that I had in the fight game across to my businesses, and just work hard and just be straight down the line, which really is a pretty easy formula for success.
It is.
And treat people so easy. Treat them how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
It's really simple. If you want to be treated well and you want to be treated with respect and courtesy, you got to show it. So
true. And I think about that with a lot of footballers, or a lot of whoever it is, that they've already been given the tools. They've been given the tools of discipline. They've been given the tools of, being at the right time, on time, otherwise you get in trouble. They've been given the tools of knowing what rules to break, knowing what rules not to break, and all that sort of stuff. So they've been given, holistically, even though the technical stuff of you're not running into a 120 kilo man at 60 kilometers an hour anymore. So you've been given that break. But the other tools of working hard, which is a given in business, doing the hard yards, learning to have the right people around you, learning to have a peak performance coach. I mean, just because I'm a coach, I'm not saying that, but having the right people that are going to give you the right type of advice around you, you already know how that construct works. So for you to take that out, you can do that. Don't feel, to anyone listening, don't feel so lost as soon as you leave your job. Don't feel that you've got nothing to offer, because you already know the framework.
And as a fighter, I never had that. I never had, I had my old man for that. So I was lucky. And and with respect, a lot of young blokes playing NRL, AFL, they don't have their old man. So I probably had it better than having life coaches or business coaches, with all respect, or a great coach or a great club that's mentoring me. I had my old man. So I was ahead of the pack in that fact, I guess, to just take advice or just watch what he did and learn from how he did things. It wasn't always, there was, as everything, mate, there's always ups and downs in life.
Of course, yeah.
But I guess one thing for the young fellas too is try and suck as much information out of good people around you whilst you can, whilst they're there. If you can take advice or ask questions or just learn and kind of just feed off their energy and feed off what they do, that's a really good thing too, is suck as much energy and information out of the people that around you at the clubs, etc., that are good people, that are a good influence, that are positive. Put yourself around those people as much as you can.
Yeah, so true. Good on you, Danny. Thank you very much for your time today. I'm sure everybody appreciates it.
My pleasure,
I'm sure we'll see each other at some point once these planes open up.
Yeah.
I'm sure we touch base when you're in Sydney, and we can catch up and see.
Have a cup of tea and chew the fat, mate.
Have a cup of tea. Probably won't be a cup of tea for me, but it'll be all right.
What's your weapon of choice, mate?
I've been into the pale ales, little creatures from WA lately. What's wrong? You don't like it?
No, I gave up drinking beer. I gave up beer 17 months ago.
Yeah.
And I stopped drinking, and the last 2 or 3 years into my drinking, because I loved my beer, mate.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was getting into the pale ales. I wouldn't touch a pale ale before. I was just BB, EMU Export, Carlton Draft. That's it. Now the pale ales, oh my God, I loved them.
Yeah.
And then I don't drink them anymore. Now when you say it, I was like, I used to.
All right,
everybody. You have a pale ale.
Everybody's just witnessed Danny falling off the wagon in live. No, it's all good. Good. Congratulations on that. Good on you, mate. Well done. That must have been hard, because I reckon I'd find it really tough. That must have been hard.
Oh, look, mate, I didn't miss out. You know, I've got the Irish blood, so I didn't miss out on drinking.
You gave it a crack, yeah.
I gave it a real nudge, and I had a very good time, mate.
Yeah.
Had a great time doing it.
Yeah.
But it was time to pull up and you know, do it. Yeah, just for me, it was. I actually wanted to do it for quite a while. My man did it when he was the same age, around 46. He did it.
Yeah.
He was a big drinker, heavy drinker, gave up. So did the same thing. Yeah.
Well done. Well done. An excellent lesson right there, right at the end.
As Guru will attest, though, I don't need it, mate. I'm stupid enough.
I'll ask him. I've been trying to get him onto this, and he's like, "No one's going to listen to me." And I'm like, "You're probably right, but I need some content." You know,
he'd have some great stories, mate.
He's got some great stories.
The state of origin, just his playing career, then with his band, you know, Shinobi and all these.
Oh yeah,
mate. And now he started his own. Now he's gone out and branched out and doing his own marquee hire business.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you actually came out to one of his songs once, didn't you? I think. Didn't you? I can't remember.
No, I didn't come out, and I always come out to Landano, but I played his songs in between rounds.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great support.
I was like, Guru, you're the man. I wish I was, because I always wanted to play in a band.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm jealous, mate. Or not jealous, but I'm right on. It was wicked.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Danny, thank you very much again, mate. And I appreciate it. You take it easy. You have a wonderful day. And thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Anytime. I appreciate it, Pete. Boom back at you, mate. Have a good one.
All the best.
See you, champ.